Dearest Swami, respected elders, dear brothers and sisters. The story goes that there was this philosopher who was walking on the street and he was lost in thoughts. And he kept walking, he was unaware of his surroundings, and he just bumps into a policeman. The policeman is irritated, so he tries to stop him, but then he sees that this philosopher is just continuing to walk. He is not even aware that he has bumped into this policeman. So the policeman chases him, catches him and says, "Stop, where do you think you are going?" And the philosopher is still lost in question. And he continues to walk. So the police chases him, catches him again, says, "Where did you come from?" The philosopher is blank. And he continues to walk. So this police is now really upset. He goes, catches him and he says, "Who do you think you are, man? You can do whatever you want and get away. Who do you think you are?" The philosopher turns to the policeman, folds his hand and says, "Sir, if I had known the answers to these questions, I would have given you. I am actually lost in these questions themselves. I am trying to find the answers for these questions. Where I have come from, where I am going, and who I am. If you can help me in finding out who I am, I'll be grateful to you." The scriptures speak of this question as the most fundamental and greatest question that can possibly be asked. In spirituality, there's nothing like a right answer. There's nothing like a right answer. That is why when Swami says something at a practical level, we are not satisfied, because there are different practical remedies for the same problem. The different remedies given by Swami himself. "Swami, my mind is agitating me a lot." Different ways Swami has answered this question. So there are different answers when it comes to spirituality. There's nothing like the right answer in spirituality. But there is always something called the right question. And the goal and aim of any spiritual master is to ensure that the disciple or the shishya asks the right question. Because once the right question is asked, everything is taken care. I remember watching an old Hollywood movie called I, Robo. This I, Robo is a science fiction movie where the world is ruled by robos. The robos were made to help man. Slowly the robos dominate man and take over. And in that, there is one robo what the creator has built with a heart, supposed to be a heart. And this robo is going to be the savior of all mankind. So there is this robo and there is a hero. Both of them are on the mission to save mankind. So in that movie, what happens is, there are different clues that have been left behind by this professor. And the clues are located at different locations where the hologram of this professor comes and gives the answer. So it is like when he finds the hologram, he asks the professor, "But why did this happen?" And the professor says, "Sorry, I cannot answer that." "But why did that person do this?" "Sorry, I cannot answer that." "But why did that bike fall down from here?" Now that is a correct question. And the hologram disappears. So the entire movie is based on just correct questions. No answer is given at any place, but it is just pointed out and said that now that is a correct question. Pursue it. I loved the movie because it is very close to life also. In our spiritual progress, there is nothing like the right answer. And no answer that anybody gives us can ever be satisfying. Because the answer is something that we have to find. It's a very personalized answer. So the only thing that the master ensures is that we are asking the right question. That's all. And among all the right questions, the primordial, the most important and the most vital question is supposed to be this: who am I? Who am I? In his discourse on the 15th of May 1971, Swami was in the district of Dharwad in Karnataka. He was speaking to people there. It's a fantastic discourse, 15th May 1971, because Swami addresses this question, who am I? Swami says that the journey begins with Deham. He has summarized this entire journey in 4 words, which I shall tell as the speech goes on. He says the first one is you think you are the Deham. Deham meaning body. He says the journey begins with you thinking you are the Deham. You being convinced that you are the body. Actually, this also, is something that we develop. When we are born, we don't have this body consciousness. We are not aware that we are this body. Because if you look at a baby will admire its own palm, its own hand, its own feet. It's amazed. It doesn't know that this is me. It doesn't have that ego. Doesn't have dehabhimanam. It doesn't have body consciousness, body attachment. As parents, as so-called responsible parents, we teach. This is you. Why are you looking at yourself? Because we have to do the toilet training for the child. We have to make the child eat. So for the child to be able to survive, we teach the child that this is you. You are this body is you. This is you, this is not you, this is you, this is not you. We teach. Ironically, later on when we have to evolve, we have to give up exactly this. No, this is not me, this is not me. But that is how it is. As Mark Twain said, I was born wise, education ruined me. That's what we do. The first step, we start off our journey thinking that we are the Deham. Let us now do a thought experiment. Okay, suppose, because if anybody asks who is Arvind, I say, I'm Arvind. I won't say that is Arvind. I will raise my hand, point out to myself, point out to my body and say I am Arvind. So I'll just share with you a thought experiment that I did. You can also do it along with me. The thought is this. So suppose if this is Arvind, if I cut my nails, will I still be Arvind? Because a part of me is gone now. A part of my body is gone. If I have a haircut, if I shave my head, will I still be Arvind? And I feel, I'm still Arvind, It's not my hair and nails that make Arvind. Let me see, in order to find out who I am, let me try to see who I am not. Okay, not hair and nails. Suppose I lose my leg. My leg is amputated and I cut off one leg. Am I still Arvind? Of course I am Arvind. I am still Arvind. What if both my legs are gone? What if both my legs and both my hands are gone? Because on YouTube I came across, I forgot his name, I came across a very inspiring personality. He doesn't have any of the limbs. He doesn't have 2 arms, he doesn't have 2 legs. And yet, he jumps, he plays football, he's a motivational speaker. I'm not able to recollect his name, but you just have to search on YouTube, you'll come across very powerful speaker, amazing. He's definitely convinced that he is he. He is no less he just because he doesn't have hands and legs. So even if you chop off my hands and legs, I'm still Arvind. Which means my hands and legs are not Arvind. Take off my eyes, take off my nose, take off my tongue. I still feel I am Arvind. In this manner, I kept in my thought shredding myself. Let us just assume that I have life even if I lose these. I keep losing things. And if I have life, I still feel I am Arvind. My heart you remove, my lungs you remove, I'm still Arvind. Then I thought possibly, it boils down to the brain. The brain, that part is possibly the closest to being Arvind. I am me. The brain is this is what I felt. And as I thought further, it's not just that brain, because even after I die, that brain can be preserved. That is not Arvind, because Arvind has left now. It's not the hardware called the brain, but possibly the software that animates the brain. The software which is a collection of, this is all just the part of my thought experiment. So I'm thinking the software of my brain is possibly Arvind. Now again, in that software, which part of it is Arvind? Okay. So for example, it's in my brain that I know how to speak, I know language. So tomorrow if I forget English, am I Arvind or not? Yes, of course. If I forget English, I'm still Arvind. I'm there. So it's not the part of the software which controls my language? Is it my skills? If I forget how to cook tomorrow, am I still Arvind? Yes, of course I am Arvind. So, you start stripping even at the you start stripping the software also to find out who am I actually. And I did this thought experiment and I don't know, I couldn't get a very convincing answer of who I am. But the closest I came to is possibly, my character or my value system. That is what defines who I am. Even if not even my memories. Because, suppose my memory is of going to see the Niagara Falls. If I forget that, no problem, I'll still remain Arvind. My memory of a person who treats me lovingly, I treated him or her lovingly and a nice relationship has formed. If I forget that relationship, I'm still Arvind, because again, if somebody comes and treats me lovingly, I'll treat back lovingly. But I felt that if somebody comes and treats me lovingly and I treat them back with hate, which is not my nature, that is not Arvind. That is why I felt in the software also, my character, my core values, this is possibly what is me. The rest of it is not me. Because I feel in order for Arvind to be Arvind, the way Arvind responds to different stimuli, different things, different people, that response should remain more or less same. The morality and... But then I'm thinking even this response is something that it is not me, but something that I have learned. So my knowledge is possibly me. That was as far as I could go. It was a very interesting thought experiment. But whether I could arrive at the answer or not, at an intellectual level, it became very clear that this body is not me. I am not this body. Definitely not this body. Because when I tried to strip down my body to see which part of the body is me, it happened to be none of the gross parts. It's not even the brain, because it's the software of the brain. Without that software, brain is of no use. So, this kind of a thinking, in our scriptures has been called as the Neti Neti kind of thinking. Neti meaning not this, not this. Neti, Neti. They say when you're trying to find out who you are, just see who you are not. And after you keep negating everything, what remains, that is you. There are different ways of negating. This was one thought experiment. The other thought experiment that is often suggested is, you're awake in this world, you're seeing everything. But when you're sleeping, your body is at rest. Your body is not doing anything. And yet, you are having experiences as real as the experiences in the waking state. You experience fear, you experience love, you experience hatred, you experience everything just as you would experience in the waking state. So there is the waking state, then there is the dream state. So in the dream state you experience all this. And there is the deep sleep state. The interesting thing is, in deep sleep you don't get dreams. The dream state is possibly because though the body is resting, the mind is active. The question then comes, what in the deep sleep state? Because in the deep sleep state, even the mind is gone. The interesting thing that is pointed out is, when we wake up from a deep sleep, we get up and say, wow, I had a very nice sleep. So then the question is asked, who is that person, who is saying, I had a nice sleep? You had a nice sleep, which means, who is that then? Who is that who had a nice sleep? So therefore, they say there is the Jagrat, which is the waking state. There is the Swapna Avastha, which is the dream state. Then there is the Sushupti, which is the deep sleep state. But that is also not complete, because there also somebody is witnessing the deep sleep. And they say that what you are is the fourth state called the Turiya. Interestingly, what is the meaning of the word Turiya, do you know? The word Turiya means the fourth state. That's all. There is no definition of meaning like that. So it just says, not these three, the fourth one that is there, that is your state. So that is who you really are. So these are the different thought experiments that have been conducted just to help in finding out who I am. And as I said, all this is based on Neti Neti, not this, not this, not this, not this. And that is what Bhagawan tells in his discourse on the 15th of May. He says you start off with Deham and then you progress to the state of Naaham. Naaham means I am not the body. I am definitely not the body. Body is just an instrument through which I express myself. My mind is just an instrument through which I express myself. You know, when Bhagawan had a fall and his hip was broken, we could see how Swami would physically struggle to just stand up, sit down. And many times when he's trying to sit down, his face would grimace. There would be pain. We can make out that there's intense pain because that ball and socket joint has broken. So on one occasion, Professor Anil Kumar actually, empathized with Swami. He expressed his sympathy. He said, Swami, I'm sure there must be a lot of pain, right? He said. Swami said, yes, there is a lot of pain. But there is no suffering, Swami said. It was an amazing answer. Swami said, there is a lot of pain, but there is no suffering. I am very happy. This is possible only when you dissociate yourself from the body. This is possible only when you realize that I am not the body. Yes, it is like saying, the car is getting rust. The car has got damaged. But I am not suffering. I am not suffering. I suffer, recently when my car got scratched, I suffered. That's because I am at a lower level than that. I not only identify with my body, I identify with the car also. I feel that is also me. Oh God, no, car got scratched. Anyway, so we move from Deham to Naaham, which is, I am not the body. As this experience of me not being the body, as we start getting more and more convinced, see, there is nothing like a degree of conviction. Either we are convinced or not convinced. It's only that at some time we forget that we are convinced. It's like faith, you can't say I have shaky faith. Shaky faith is an oxymoron. Faith by default means it is strong. You can't have shaky faith. So either you have faith or don't have faith. It's just that at some points in time I don't have faith. At some points in time I have faith. In the same way, this conviction that I am not the body is not a partial conviction or a quarter conviction. It's complete conviction when the conviction is there. At other times we forget it. As the amount of time we remember that we are not the body grows, Swami says you move on to the next step. From Deham to Naaham. From Naaham you then move on to Koham. What is Koham? Koham means who am I? So you start with saying I am the body. Then you say no, I am not the body. Then the question comes, then who am I? If I am not the body, if I am not the mind, who am I? Swami often refers to the baby when it's born, it keeps crying. Swami says it cries Koham, Koham, Koham. Because bodily it is lacking something, mentally it is lacking something, but spiritually what it is lacking, because of which it has taken this birth, is answer to this question, who am I? So it cries Koham, Koham, Koham. The baby is crying when it's born. That's what Swami says. Now again, let's do a thought experiment when we are trying to find out who am I. Because the previous thought experiment that we did, when we said that no, I am not the hand, I am not the leg, I am not this, it was all about who am I not. It was not who am I. Though our objective was to find out who am I, we did it via the formula of who I am not. I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. And when I removed everything, what remained, I don't know. I have a fuzzy idea about what remained, I said. I said that I feel it's my character, my nature, my morality, whatever remained, that is what I am, I think. It's a fuzzy thing. So that was Neti Neti, what I am not. In a private session, Swami gave a mind-blowing interpretation of Neti Neti. It just swept me off. And I'm sure it would have blown off anybody else who were there in that presence that day. By just adding one small letter, one small syllable, Swami changed the entire meaning of Neti Neti. Till then, we understood Neti Neti as not this, not this, not this. Swami said Neti Neti means not only this, not only this. if we think deep on this, it's a mind-boggling change. Instead of saying, I'm not this, I'm not the hand, I'm saying I'm not only the hand, which means I am the hand and more than that. I'm not only the eye, I'm not only the heart. Means I am the heart, but I'm more than that. This is amazing, because instead of making me some exclusive being, it makes me an inclusive being. Now when I use this Neti Neti, and if I ask, am I the body? My answer is Neti Neti, no. Not only this, I'm not only the body, correct. Because when I try to strip down to see, do I remain if I remove this? Do I remain if I remove this? Do I remain if I remove this? Yes, I remain if you remove everything also. I still remain. But if you want to comprehensively explain me, I think you will better understand me if I remain with my body, with my mind. I feel I am more of me with all these added on. Because honestly speaking, as I said, the other perspective of looking at the car is, yes, when that car gets scratched, I get hurt. That's also me. Because you are not like that, possibly. You may not bother if the car gets scratched. You may possibly not have that thing at all. But I have it. So that though the car is not me, this interaction between the car and me is also a partial definition of me. The relationship between me and my wife is also me. The relationship between me and my child, it is also me. It also adds on to building who I am. Though you remove all that, I still exist. But if you want to understand me completely, you have to understand all these also. That is why in India they say that a man never marries a woman. It is two families marrying each other. Because the understanding and harmony between the man and wife may be great. But if there is any discord between the in-laws and the wife and the husband and the in-laws or whatever, it's not going to be happy. Because though the marriage is a marriage without the in-laws, without the house, without the ceremony, without anything, it's still a union. To better understand the marriage, yes, all are needed. Both side families, the house, the city, the circumstance, how you were born, what was your childhood, which school you studied, everything shapes the marriage. So that is what I feel Swami has changed the Neti Neti to, from an exclusive kind of principle to an all-inclusive principle. So yes, this Prasanthi Nilayam is also me. Because if you remove Prasanthi Nilayam from my life, one aspect of me is gone. Andhra Pradesh is also me. India is also me. You remove India from my life, one aspect of me is gone. If you want to understand me clearly, you have to understand even India. The world is also me, earth is me. Solar system is me. If you remove solar system, I am gone. And you grow, my God. So now who are you? You strip down to the bare minimum, nothing is there and you say that is you. You take on everything in the universe and say it is you. How is this possible? This is how Bhagawan says, about God. He says, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. He's smaller than the smallest. He's grander than the grandest. You'll wonder how is this possible, but that's how it is. It is the way we approach it. Because I am smaller than the smallest. You take me down to a nothingness, remove all the atoms, I am still there. That is me. But actually I am everything also. So from Deham, when we move to Naaham, and when we come to Koham and we start inquiring, our horizon starts expanding. That's why Swami says, expansion love is life, contraction love is death. If you're truly living life, you have to keep expanding. You realize that it's not just about you. It's not just about you and your spouse. It's not just about you, your spouse and the family. It's not just about your neighborhood. It's not just about your community. It's not just about your country. It's not just about the earth. It grows, The love grows. Swami says, so it begins with Deham, goes to Naaham, then goes to Koham, and it culminates with Soham. Soham meaning, I am that. What that? Whatever you say that. Whatever you call as that is me. That, everything, everything, that, I am that. A pillar, that is how, when Prahlada prayed and Hiranyakashipu said, in this pillar is Narayana there, he said, he's there. You call it that pillar, right? Yeah, that. Soham, he is there. He is there everywhere. That is how God is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. Because when you come to that realization of Soham, as I said, if you need whole India to understand me, just imagine. Because India is also part of me. The world is part of me. It may seem like I'm using language to cover up logic. I'm using the right brain part to establish the left brain thing. Now, how do we understand, emotionally, India is part of you, the world is part of you, your mother is part of you, but actually they are not you. That's what it looks for cold logic. Science. Science actually discovered this concept of Anoraniyan and Mahato Mahiyan a few decades back when it discovered the concept of fractals. It's an amazing thing, fractal. The most common fractal we see in life is possibly the snowflake. Because you see, a snowflake has a repeating pattern over and over again, over and over, from the atomic level. That grows into a big snowflake. However big that is, the tiny snowflake is actually made up. You keep breaking the snowflake, it will break into smaller parts of its own. You see many things, you can just Google for an image of a fractal, you will see. A video, you see a leaf, you zoom into that leaf, you will see that it's made up of millions of small leaves. Each of those million small leaves is made up of again million small leaves. You zoom into that, again it's made up of, it's never ending. You keep going deeper and deeper and deeper in a fractal and you will see that it's the same pattern repeating again and again and again and again. And when this fractal was discovered, this concept of fractals, and though it is beyond the scope of my understanding, the concept of fractals is very strongly established mathematically also. As far as science is concerned, when it's mathematically established, there's no doubt in it. So once you say it is established, do we understand the consequences of this fractal? You know what? You take the fractal, go deeper to any level. Level 1, there are million leaves. Level 2, each of those million leaves have another million leaves in them. Level 3, each of those have another million. Go to any level. Go to any level, the leaf at that level is a replica of the leaf at the level 1. Can you believe it? A leaf in the level million is a replica of the leaf in the level 1. 1 million level downwards, and yet it is the complete thing. That is what our scriptures would say as Purnamada Purnamidam. This is full, that is full. You take the full out of the full, both remain full. Oh God. It looks very confusing, but when you see the concept of fractals, it becomes very clear. Yes. Suppose I go down to the millionth level and destroy all the levels above. I have not destroyed anything at all. It still exists. The complete thing exists. So scientifically also, we are able to wrap our minds around the fact that something can be the smallest and yet something can be smaller than the smallest and yet larger than the largest. In fact, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan looks like a good definition for a fractal. And also the other concept, Swami would say that your body may be limited, but it holds infinity within. And we would wonder, how can something that is itself finite hold something which is infinite? Again, fractals showed this. Because if I take a leaf, that leaf has a finite volume, a finite area and a finite length, but it is holding infinite within it. Another example that is often given. Let's take the border of any country, India, England. It has a border. And we say the border is so many kilometers in length. But is that all? Because the border is like a very rough approximation. It doesn't exactly go along the shape of the coastline. If you go along the shape of the coastline, you will see that the length increases. And again, if you further zoom in, the length further increases, because what you have drawn as a straight line, you will see actually is a harbor which extends like this. And in the harbor, there are many rocks that protrude like that. And in the rocks, that surface is undulated. The scientific answer is, the circumference of any country is actually infinite. It's infinite. But the area of the country is known. You simply draw a circle around the country. I may not be able to determine the exact area of the country, but if I draw a circle around that country, then the area of the country is definitely lesser than the area of that circle. And the area of the circle I can determine. So here we have something finite holding something infinite. A thing with a finite area is holding something of infinite length. This was thrilling for me because I realized that science is also coming and accepting all these facts which look like lunatic statements. When you say that he is smaller than the smallest, yet larger than the largest, he is full, but you remove the full from him, he remains full, and what comes out is also full. But now when we look at it, and when we look at we being God's creation, if God was that Purnam, and from that Purnam if we have come as Purnam, yes, we are also full, he is also full. We are as divine as he is. And that is what Swami says. I am God, but if you inquire, you will realize so are you. If you inquire, what you have to inquire? Who am I? Who am I? It may begin at an intellectual level. But since Swami has encouraged us to do it at an intellectual level, it is possible that it may seep into experience someday. When we are ready, he will come and grant that experience. Swami says, what is the meaning of sadhana? Swami said that there are three things people think. Sadhana, that is the process of doing this. The sadhaka, the person who is doing this. And the sadhyam, the object of the sadhana. Swami said that as long as you think that these are three separate things, your sadhana is not successful. If you think that there is an aspirant, there is a process of aspiration, and there is a goal of aspiration, as long as you are having this, your sadhana is not complete. Because Swami says sadhana is complete when the sadhaka, the sadhana, and the sadhyam, all three become one. That kind of oneness has to come. If that oneness is there, where is the question of this is office work, this is housework, this is spiritual work, this is Swami's work, this is bad work? Nothing. It's just, are you understanding? I mean, this was a thrilling revelation. When we look at all the realized people, they continue to do what they were. There is Nisargadatta Maharaj, one of the modern proponents of this who am I. Phenomenal. His writings are. He used to sell BDs. BDs is the Indian version of cigarette. And throughout his life he did that only. He used to sell BDs. Because Swami once saw one student reading a book of Nisargadatta Maharaj. And Swami told, hey, that BD wala, he got it right, Swami told. Swami called him the BD wala and said he has got it right. So it's not as if I'm realized I'll have a halo around my head, because that's how we depict. This is Siddhartha. Once he became Buddha, the artist will put one yellow painting behind his head. And we think that if I'm enlightened, there should be one ball of light around my head. Or I should levitate possibly. In fact, when my colleague Sai Prakash was designing one of the first CD covers of a song CD that students had sung for Swami, he drew Swami and he drew a halo around Swami's head. Swami saw the cover and said, who designed this? And he said, Swami, I designed. Swami said, am I seen like this? He said, Swami, you're divine, no Swami, so I put the halo. Swami said, you saw me like that anytime? No, Swami. Swami said, then why? Just speak the truth, nothing more, nothing less. Speak what is your experience, nothing more, nothing less. We build up all these and get a wrong idea of the ultimate. We think ultimate means I have to ditch my wife, my children, my everything. See, that is why the Buddha had such a long, painful process. He learnt many things. He realized neither by feasting, he used to feast as a prince. And he felt feasting is wrong because what am I doing feeding the body? He starved the body after that. But he realized that is also not. So he came up with the middle path. The entire Buddhism is a collection of teachings of the Buddha, things that he personally and sincerely experienced on his path to nirvana. And he has sincerely recorded it. And that's why it's so wonderful. Because he spoke neither less nor more. He spoke exactly what was his experience. But we often imagine and tell things, and that's why we have wrong concepts. And so Swami said, this This is the journey that all have to go through. Starts with you thinking your Deham, going to you saying Naaham, then Koham, ending in Soham. Kabir Das, one of the great Indian mystic saints, he also says, Kabira jab hum paida hue, jag hase hum roye. He says, when Kabira was born, the world smiled while I was crying. That's what happens. When a baby is born, all of us rejoice. And the baby is crying. If the baby is not crying, we will lift the baby and hit it so that it cries. We make it cry and then we rejoice. And he says, ऐसी करनी कर चलो कि हम हंसे जग रोए. When you are dying, you should have done such actions in your life that you are leaving with a smile on the face and everyone around you is crying. Should not be such a life that people rejoice, Abba, he's gone, man. Good riddance. It should not be like that. And the only way we can smile when we are dying and not get bothered about all the things, what is going to happen to my property, who will take care of my children, what will happen to this, what will happen to that. If none of that should bother me, then I have to realize who I am. Then only nothing will bother me. Because what I think is me is always bothered. If I think of myself as the body and the mind, they will always be getting bothered. So till I am able to break out of that conviction that I am the body or I am the mind, I will never be able to smile when I pass away. And so Kabir Das also says that only. Means that shloka, I feel, he is telling in a poetic manner the same thing. That you are born Koham, Koham. Please, when you go, be telling Soham, Soham. Swami says that is what each breath says. He says, so, when you breathe in, he says it is so, hum, when you breathe out. All your life it's trying to teach you that. So when that breath finally stops, that breath would have found fulfillment only if we have realized that. If we are able to tell our breath that, oh breath, you can go. Because even without you reminding me every moment, now I will never forget who I am. So life that begins with Deham, begins as a Deham, goes through Naaham, transforms to Koham, and finally reaches Soham. And for that, as Swami said, we have to make our work into worship. It's not segregating stuff. Telling that I want to get onto this journey, but I don't have time. I want to do that, but that office work is coming, house work is coming. It is that very separation and compartmentalization that keeps us from realizing ourselves, because we are supposed to be the summation of everything in this universe. I am everything. And within that, if I keep separating, how will I realize that? So it is a difficult journey, but it's a fascinating journey. It's a journey of true self-discovery. It is the only journey that will truly end all the problems in the world, in our world. Because the world is supposed to be like this, it will remain like this. Just like, I'll conclude possibly with Buddha's example only. I often ask people whether they think Buddha is a success story or a failure. And everybody says Buddha is a success story. Buddha set out to find a solution for suffering, for old age and for death. So I say, if Buddha is a success story, how come there is still suffering? How come there is still old age? How come there is still death? What solution did he discover? What world did he change? Buddha did not change the world. Buddha changed his world. And each of our journey is precisely for that. The world will have light and darkness, will have happiness and sorrow, will have plus and minus. That is the nature of the dual world. But finding out who I am, finding out my reality, is my way to escape the dual world. Praying to Swami to be our companion on this journey of ourself to ourself, till that point in time when we realize that Swami is not a companion, because Swami is myself and there is no difference between him and me. Praying to Swami for this journey where the sadhaka, the sadhana and the sadhyam become one. I will conclude today's talk. Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.